Do you like space? Do you like Half-Life? Dinosaurs, maybe? Do you like statues of monkeys smoking a stogie? Well, then, I have a game for you. Gunman Chronicles, released in 2000, developed by Revolve Software running on the Gold Source engine. Oh, I'm sorry, the Half-Life engine. This game started out as a mod for Quake, then got shifted to Quake 2 before finally stealing the show at the 1999 Half-Life Mod Expo, where it got the official endorsement and funding from Sierra Studios, Half-Life 1's publisher at the time. So, in November 2000, Gunman Chronicles was officially released as a standalone retail product. I went into this game completely blind. Apart from what I just told you, I don't know a whole lot about Gunman Chronicles. So, relax, sit back, grab some crack as we go through this epic space western together. The game starts with us in this space shuttle type thing as we move through the Gunman space station. Gunmen are this sort of like a space army that governs all sorts of planets that humanity has settled on throughout history. So they're like this space military police or something. Also, fun fact, this voice actress in the beginning later went on to voice citizens in Half-Life 2 and the episodes and even the citizens in Halo 3. That's pretty cool.
Department of Mandated Colonization confirms 12 additional frontier planets have been infested by xenome species. In spite of the arrival of massive numbers of gunman troops, panic continues to spread among the colonists and haphazard civilian evacuations have begun to mount.
I really like this sequence, especially the scenes you can view outside the window with all sorts of things are happening. You'll see spaceships taking off, droids doing their work, various parts of the space station, and these very nifty scenes where you can see other gunmen working on stuff, but they're like sideways or upside down due to gravity and everything being in space. Throughout this sequence, we hear this lady on the intercom, and she also tells us about xenomes, who are like this alien species that have overtaken some planet or something. Upon landing, we get to the briefing room.
Attention, men! I have the pleasure of introducing you to this man, one of the few survivors of Panzer Prime. He knew the great general personally. The general saved him and the rest of his troops by his glorious self-sacrifice. But the general knew no gunman leaves another gunman behind. It was his duty. What's our mission, sir? We've received a suspicious signal beacon from an uncharted jungle planet. You men have been assigned to investigate and take action. There's a chance that the ones responsible for the xenome infestation are behind this. You'll be leaving just as soon as the dropships have been prepared.
So basically, we're Major Archer. There was also the General, who died a heroic death at some battle on Panzer Prime, where the General stayed behind so Archer and the rest of the gunmen could escape the xenomes. And now 5 years later, the gunmen have received a suspicious signal that we need to investigate. This whole intro sequence feels a bit too much to be thrown at us right away. First, the lady kept yapping, then this dude kept yapping, but I appreciate the deep lore the game already establishes right at the beginning. I love the look of this space station. Reminds me a lot of the Aliens movies, but like, this is more brighter, I guess?
Looks like another damaged ship is about to... Aubrey! Let's get out of here! Hurry! You'll have to duck to get... Excellent!
I gotta say, the cinematic elements of this game are off the charts. Compared to Half-Life, which came out 2 years before this, Gunman really takes it up a notch in terms of scripted sequences. Then comes a gun range. Now this game does something really interesting, and I think it is very ambitious and innovative for doing so. Every weapon in this game has weapon modifications, like the pistol can be turned into a sniper or can have different firing styles like a rapid one, a charged one. Similarly, the shotgun can be modified to change how many shells it uses and how the pellet dispersion works and so on. The machine gun has 2 firing modes, slow and accurate or fast and little inaccurate. It also uses a temperature system too. So like, the weapons and their modification in this game give the gunplay such a depth that I don't think any game had back then.
Welcome to the vehicle training course. I know what you're thinking. What good is a tank in space? But it's good to keep your skills sharp.
Excuse me? A tank? In space? This game has tanks! And you know what? It controls really well. It's fast, responsive, has a turret gun and a cannon on it. Wow. The voice actor behind these gunmen did a really good job. Like, it's not realistic or anything, but like, it's really cheesy and corny, but in a very positive way.
Okay, you're ready to start the explosives training course. Today you'll be learning how to use the multiple unit launch engine, or MULE.
And that's what you can expect from Gunman's story. Like, it's very campy, but like in a very fun kind of way. Next we get to handle grenades and the grenade launcher, or I don't know, rocket ammunition and the rocket launcher. Like, you can use the rocket ammunition like a grenade, but they also act like ammunition for the launcher. And of course, these two also have a crap ton of different weapon modifications to use. Like, this ammunition can explode like a grenade, or it can be split up into many pieces like a cluster bomb, or the launcher can do a timed explosion, a heat-seeking attack, and so on. This whole modification thing on the weapons might be a bit too much for some players, but I feel like if you stick with the default settings or the ones you like the best, you can go through the whole game with them without changing them at all. But still, it's a very nifty thing to have at your disposal. After the training, we get our armor on and get on board a dropship to go investigate the mysterious signal the gunmen received. We land on this jungle-like planet with ancient temples and dinosaurs. We then go to the place where the signal was originating from and
Hey, something's happening. It just activated. What's going on? It's a trap. Get the hell out of here.
yeah, whoever sent that signal did not want us to leave this place alive. Turns out this whole thing is an ambush, carefully planned to wipe out the gunmen, but so far, we're fine. At the landing zone, there's a tank on the hill and the turrets are gunning down all of our comrades. We go flank the turrets and take them out. And we also notice that whoever planned this attack, this ambush, they are a professional bunch as they're actually monitoring the whole situation and talking to each other on the radio. Then the tank shoots the building we're in and creates a way for us to escape this area. We once again listen in on the attackers' conversations.
The radar just picked up the last remaining dropships. Prepare the SAM turret. Yes, sir.
You know, so far I'm really digging this whole experience. This whole sequence of the ambush was really nice to see, and the map itself has such a mood to it. The whole ancient temple aesthetic is a vibe only 3000 BC kids can relate to. Also, it kind of reminds me of D-Aztec, which is, you know, an automatic win in my book. Also, monkeys with stogies, like I promised. They shoot darts, which can kill you, so like, they're bad monkeys. As we move deep into the temple, we get to hear more and more from the attackers, see these mushy corpses and find other survivors like us. And this thing too, that, my friend, is a dinosaur. A big dinosaur. Reading up on old reviews from the time this game came out, I really find it odd that most publications gave it mixed scores and said it wasn't any different from the free mods of the time. Like, really? I mean, sure, Half-Life did have some amazing mods right out of the gate, but come on, this game is a step above free mods. Sure, it's not perfect by any means, and maybe it didn't age that well, but I personally feel it's really unique in a lot of aspects. Anyway, going further, we get a plot twist.
Hello, Ranger Archer. I feel certain you remember me. Think back 5 years. You might recall a little scene that unfolded on Banjo Prime? Scene of a crime, I should say. You weren't even a major then. You had no authority to order the retreat, not while your general was still alive. If you'd read your science report more carefully, you'd have known that Silicon life has no chance of digesting fellow gunmen or the scientists. But you left us all to rot in the guts of those Silicon beasts. After crushing the monster's heart with my bare hands, I struggled tooth and nail to free myself. Literally. As you can imagine, an experience like that changes a man. I felt from within that terrifying power of the beast. I had my first insight into the awesome weapon it could become. When I had freed the undigested science team, they too saw the light of my vision. And they have labored well to engineer a host of new xenome species. You're very important to me, Archer. I wouldn't have gone to the trouble of luring you here otherwise. Science would be nothing without its guinea pigs. But try not to feel as if your slow death has no meaning. We intend to learn a great deal from your suffering, and we'll put all this hard-won knowledge to good work, ensuring the slaughter of the rest of your gunmen, treacherous, self-centered brutes. Now, I'm not ungenerous myself. I've left you some basic supplies, and I'm betting your will to survive is strong enough to provide some valuable data. But in all honesty, the greatest service you can do us all is die in an interesting fashion. Yes, my friend, now it is your turn to find out what it's like to be eaten alive.
Okay, I like this guy already. So, this is the general that everybody celebrated as a hero, but turns out he didn't die at the Battle of Banzer Prime. He was actually alive and called for help, but no one came to save him. Now he's back for revenge with his rogue gunman army, specifically targeting us since we were the ones who called for the retreat and got everyone away from the battle and left him behind. All of this Banzer Prime battle and the general attacking this big ass alien, all of this is like shown in the intro sequence, so like half the story is kind of like spoiled by the game itself, I don't know. Also, giant dinosaur. I love this sort of element in games that adds a living breathing thing as part of the map, something that you can't kill or stop. These temple interior areas do look quite primitive for the most part, but it's a combination of the rock textures mixed with the warm light of the torches that has a really nice comfy feel to them. And I mean, for an ancient temple, it sure does look like one, and even though a lot of it is just straight boxy looking corridors, I mean, it gets the job done. We also get to fight crocodiles. Wowza, this game keeps on surprising me. Honestly, this is a breath of fresh air in terms of gold source mods and games. This game has such a unique style and personality of its own, and all of it just works, and I kind of regret not playing this back in the day. So we get to this area where the general is inside this spaceship, so of course we murder all the people outside and sneak into it. And oh, what's this? Cutscenes? How dare they do cutscenes on the engine that runs Half-Life? This is nothing like Half-Life. That's sarcasm if you didn't notice. These are actually pretty fun to watch.
Now breaking orbit, sir.
I'm disappointed in this planet's reptile specimens. In the end, it was my men who killed them. It's time to check on our more dangerous specimens. Set course for the Farron Moon.
Steady as she goes, men.
I believe the reptiles in the cargo hold may have useful genotypes. However, the latest xenome life forms have been nearly perfected.
The report from the science team is a critical step. If the xenomes were able to destroy the mechanized facility, they will have proven themselves to be the finest bioweapons ever.
There's always room for improvement. For instance, controlling them is still a problem.
Sir, course calculated. Prepare to enter gun space.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's the perfect place to test the xenome's abilities. The facility was abandoned decades ago, when the moon's orbit became unstable.
The place is a death trap. The only thing holding it together is a jerry-rigged array of Kata space anchors. The facility's mainframe AI hasn't been defragged in ages. I suspect by now it's technically insane.
We'll know soon. Contact the science team.
So now we're landing on another planet that's like a sort of like base of operations for the general and his men. But as they're about to land, they notice something's off. The droids, these robots, they've gone haywire and are killing everyone. So the general scampers away, leaving us behind to fend off both the droids and these dinosaurs that the general's science team was working on. I gotta say, this skybox reeks of the late 90s sci-fi aesthetics and I love it. Look at it. It's awesome. This whole location has a very distinct and heavy style of visuals that provide for dark and gritty textures paired with vibrant lighting in most places. Then we meet this traitorous rapscallion.
Thank you. You've helped to save my xenome.
Fun fact, the scientists in this game are voiced by Jim French. You know, Father Gregory, Bill, the fisherman from Lost Coast. Visually, this whole place looks very alien and reminded me a lot of Quake 1 and 2 maps. I guess it kind of shows off its early inspirations, seeing that, this was a mod earlier for those two games. Then we meet the mainframe. To make it quick, it's like System Shock, but not really.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am the mainframe in control of this facility, and you are.
The mainframe AI computer has become sentient, so obviously it's now evil and started killing everyone and everything. And she's basically, controlling the robots.
Any members of the science team who didn't make it back in time for evacuation will have to find their own way off Barren Moon if they wish to return to Ignis. Again, good luck, and don't let the current turn of events spoil your sense of accomplishment.
So, the invaders originate on the planet Ignis. I will deal with Ignis after I take care of this xenome infestation.
These levels are straightforward for the most part and very linear in nature. There's rarely a point where you have to go off the established path and do something secondary to open the way further. In some cases I appreciate that, but sometimes it feels very simple to the point where it might become boring for some people. Now, stranded in this place with killer robots and wacky aliens, we first need to take care of a computer problem and shut off the mainframe. At least that's, what I understand so far. I also shot someone in the back and got this new weapon. It's a coaxial cable. It's like a lightning rod that zaps things. It's pretty fun to use, however its charging speed, like the firing speed of it, is kinda slow.
I'll be damned that I'm the only one who's going to die here.
This old geezer literally tries to kill us even in his last breath. What a bastard. The thing is, there's this gunship robot or something that's being controlled by the mainframe and it's literally killing everything it sees and we can't really damage it with our weapon. I also really like this whole aliens versus robots thing. It reminded me of the whole element in Half-Life of, Black Mesa versus the HECU versus the Black Ops. As we progress through this facility, we find the mainframe computer core and destroy it. Now this doesn't kill the mainframe, but damages it or something. I don't know, man. It just made the mainframe even more angry. What I don't understand is, why isn't this game as well known as its contemporaries? There are a lot of late 90s and early 2000 mods and games that are still brought up in conversation. But Gunman Chronicles, a retail game endorsed by Sierra, has been pushed under the rug. The strangest thing is that this game isn't even on Steam for some reason. You can download it for free since it's technically abandonware, but still, I feel like it deserved a lot more than what it got when it came out and how it's been treated in the past 2 decades. Sure, it has a lot of fans and whatnot, but just not enough to get Valve's attention. The first time I heard about Gunman was 10 or 15 years ago, but never bothered with it since I was more interested in mods like Afraid of Monsters and Heart of Evil. And in recent years, it was when Escalation made a few videos about Gunman was when I remembered this thing even existed. I hope this video acts as a way to introduce or reintroduce Half-Life fans to this game, and hopefully Gunman gets the recognition it deserves, and Gabe will finally put Gunman on Steam. Anyway, then we get to a portal room and fight a bunch of robots before teleporting away to another part of this facility. These visuals remind me of a few games from that era apart from Quake 1 and 2, like, Unreal and System Shock and Unreal Tournament 99. While Half-Life had much more of a balanced mix in its visuals, where it felt realistic and cartoonish, Gunman goes overboard with the lighting in most of its maps, with high saturation visuals that turn it into a spectacle.
It wasn't my decision to come here. It was the General who chose to test the new xenomes on the Barren Moon.
Quiet! At first I trusted you, but it was you who brought the xenomes here.
And why not? This moon is a lifeless junkyard ruled by an obsolete mainframe that serves no useful function.
No useful function? For 50 years I have been constructing Kata space anchors to keep this moon in its orbit.
My xenomes are superior to your drones. They will kill you.
And my drones will kill you.
I gotta say, I love the mainframe's voice acting. She really does sound menacing and evil. And she sounded familiar, but when I checked her IMDb page, this is the only role she did. For a Gold Source game from 2000, I gotta say, it certainly delivers on the rosters of enemies. While they function sort of similar like the enemies from Half-Life, the quantity is what shines here. Like, there's an alien that dashes at you, one lasers you, and there are a bunch more, but boy oh boy do I hate this one specifically. It looks ugly, it shoots homing projectiles, and when it dies, it explodes and shoots more homing projectiles as a last middle finger. Come on! Then there's the robots, which are controlled by the mainframe. Most attack the same, like they melee attack you, but a few do have projectiles as well. These are fine, I guess. Overall, on normal difficulty, the game doesn't feel too difficult or easy. If you play it just right, it can give you a proper challenge. Of course, if you just run into battle without thinking, it's definitely certain death. So the mainframe kind of realizes we're in this room, but I guess she can't see anything, so she starts blasting everywhere, which actually opens up a way for us to move forward. What an idiot! And here I thought AI was the future. Moving on, I got into a big fight with a big ass robot, and it went something like this. Well, this was fun, but man, this outside area has some heavy Unreal 1 vibes to it. So now we're in the tower that is basically shielding this whole moon from the meteor showers. So of course, John Gunman doesn't care. John Gunman is here to blow stuff up. So if we turn off the meteor shield and yeah, I think we kinda screwed ourselves with this one. So we awaken in a crater to find some old geezer about to die. I couldn't hear what he said and I really couldn't be bothered, but there's a problem. In the lab, we had killer robots. In the caves, we have these ugly monsters. And what the hell is that? Ew! Kill it! Yuck! Now we have to get back to the station. Through the tunnels, we find our way back and surprise ChatGPT.
I cannot believe you survived. How unfortunate. No matter. You won't survive long in the meteor storm.
After killing some robots and aliens, I got stuck in this place. See, when I hit this switch, those robots at the end of the hallway, they killed me. Always. That's cause I had very low health. I tried this a bunch of times, but then I remembered something. The rocket launcher ammo. That could work as a trip mine. So that's what I did. And surely enough, both the robots were dead. Then it's business as usual. Like I said before, most of this chapter is very straightforward without not a whole lot of room for error. Like, you'll know where to go and not get lost or something. Oh yeah, that unkillable robot spaceship, that's still out there. Time to put a stop to that. This here is a good old example of using elements from the environment to deal with an enemy that you can't kill conventionally. What you do is, you power up the plasma chamber with this button, then head on over to another button. Then, when the spaceship is right above the plasma door, you open it up and that hits the ship. Do it 2 or 3 times and the ship dies. This is very similar to the giant tentacle thing in the first Half-Life, but you know, not as long. But here you're more prone to taking damage from the ship when you're running around. Moving on, the space station starts to get worse and worse because the meteor shield is down thanks to us, Major Archer. Good job, idiot. So now the meteor keeps on coming and they don't stop coming. I can't understand why some reviewers at the time said this game wasn't that good. And that is because it's quite simple in its design. I mean, its gameplay loop is just go to new place, kill things, watch a sequence happen, then repeat. I mean, on paper that does sound kind of, basic and bland. But thanks to the wonderful variety in map visuals and how charming each sequence feels, it's very enjoyable. Then I came across... What the fuck? I hate this more than the other one. Get this thing off my screen. I hate it. Yeah, this boss battle was kind of annoying, honestly. It kept shooting those homing missiles at me while spawning the aliens that also shoot homing missiles, so in the end, I kept dying. But like my great-grandpa used to say, the faith of a few and a little weed is all we need, bro. I carried on with utmost dedication, used my coaxial cable laser and got the job done. Unfortunately, we don't kill it right here cause it runs away when it takes too much damage. Then we come across this big ass robot that did a lot of damage to me, but it wasn't that hard to kill. I liked the explosion, like the textures and sound and all that. Then we witnessed the most greatest battle ever choreographed in the history of gaming. Man, that robot is so badass. Of course I killed it. We also get to see a giant ass meteor strike the moon, which was actually pretty cool for Gold Source standards. Oh, sorry, I mean Half-Life engine standards. You know, the people behind this game really did push the engine, or rather broke out of that thinking that every Gold Source game or mod should exactly be like Half-Life 1. I appreciate when developers do take the risk of doing something more or something different than before. It checks out in the end. Then I came across this giant red pill, which is blocking our path. I have no idea what this red pill is supposed to be, but anyway, we need to blow it up. To do that, we go into this weird ass looking chamber with this weird ass thing rotating around. This is one of those rare occasions where this game gives you a puzzle, but to be honest, it's more trial and error than actual puzzle solving. I mean, I just kept hitting the switches till eventually it just figured itself out. Basically, this overloads and shoots out a laser that destroys a part of the red pill, which opens up a path. And yeah, things aren't looking too well. Soon, this space station is gonna blow the hell up. Aw shit, it's that thing again. Why is it still alive, goddammit? Kill it! It genuinely makes me feel icky. Long story short, we end up in a room where the mainframe offers us a truce. Yeah, the space station we're located on is actually a moon of a planet that it's orbiting, and because of what we did, it's soon gonna crash into the planet. So yeah, the mainframe and her robots are our allies now. The deal is that if we save the mainframe's core computer or something, she'll help us board her airship and get us out of here. Then we get to fight a new alien type. Ghost aliens, I guess. They're invisible when they move, not so much when they're dead. I will admit that this whole space station arc plays on for just a little bit too long. I feel like there's some filler in between the major events in these levels that could have been cut out to make this a little more enjoyable. As much as they're enjoyable visually, after 2 hours or so, you kind of feel bored and want to see something new. So we take the mainframe's core module, put her in our pocket, and make a daring escape to the airship. This part here was actually not that enjoyable, to be honest. It feels very janky, as in you're not sure what to do next. And this was a surprise to me, especially after how smoothly everything else went. So we reached the surface where this epic battle ensues between robots and aliens while we're trying to do a mad dash to the airship. I kinda liked this part because of the whole chaotic feeling to it, with the meteor showers and the fighting and whatnot. And finally, we board the airship. How are we gonna fit in that though? Oh well. And that concludes this space station story arc.
Gunman, the Kata space portal has been opened. The asteroid field density is increasing, and our probability of successfully navigating the... Engines offline. Navigation offline. Attempting course correction. Gunman, prepare for impact. If backup power holds, we have a chance of surviving this. Prepare for impact. Prepare for impact. Prepare for impact.
And now begins the space western story arc. And the best way to describe this level is yellow. Lots of yellow and rocks and stone. Oh boy, I sure hope there aren't any dinosaurs here. Oh god damn it. Then we find out that the general's men are here, so we've like stumbled upon one of his bases. And also, the mainframe is still with us in our pocket, and she'll give us comments and information from time to time.
Targets eliminated. Excellent.
The starting section feels a lot like that area from Half-Life 1 where we are on the side of the mountain and are fighting HECU soldiers. Here it feels a little more fleshed out, and it even has its own boss fight with a, airship or a chopper or whatever that is. This is a nice change of pace from all the closed space station corridors and rooms I went through earlier. It's a totally different scenery and in essence is much more open, although the lack of any variety in the color palette and textures make it a tad bland looking. We come across this old looking house which has a bunch of raiders in it, so naturally I had to dispose of them, but we also find a fellow gunman in here.
I can't believe my eyes. I never thought I'd see another gunman. You've got to find their base. I know it's out there, buried, underground. must warn the Gunman High Command. The general is behind all this. He's planning an attack. I've got some bad wounds, sir. I just slow you down. Go on without me. Oh.
So yeah, the general, he's planning to attack the gunman headquarters or something, and we need to put a stop to that. Even though the visuals are repetitive in these levels, I do love the feeling, you know, like the vibe of this place is really cool, especially with that windy soundscape. Next, of course, we come across a tank that the mainframe tells us can't be destroyed with rockets. I thought maybe I should use this machine gun turret to shoot it, but obviously that wouldn't work. But then I realized I'm supposed to do this. Wowza! Next we find a tank of our own. We take out 2 turret positions with it, but right away we get blocked by this container. So then the game sends us on this somewhat lengthy on-foot section to first turn on the power, then come all the way back, move the container out of the way, and get back into the tank. Kinda pointless if you ask me. Like, sure, it makes sense, but like, it also kind of feels weird that the game just gave me access to a tank, but then immediately blocks my path, so I have to get out of the set tank and clear the way first? I don't know. Anyway, we start our tank journey, and this part kind of gave me Red Faction vibes. While it's been a while since I played that game, it had some memorable vehicle sections which feel like an evolution of what goes on in Gunman and, you know, with the tank and whatnot. But guess what? We have to get out of the tank again because this bridge isn't drawn. Now, I get it. I get this gameplay of having on-foot sections in between driving a vehicle. I personally feel it just kind of ruins the point of giving the player a vehicle in the first place. I mean, if you have to get out and press a few buttons or kill a few enemies and get back, that's fine. But this specific section had... Okay, let's get through this quickly. You have to kill a bunch of enemies, go through this cave, then the house on the hill, or something, kill more enemies, flick the switch, draw the bridge, bring the tank with you, shoot down this tree, power on the generator, flick the switch, destroy the rocks, and then carry on with your tank shenanigans. I mean, I like it. I like the gameplay, the guns, the enemies, the whole visuals of being in this space western opera game or something, but I would love this more if this wasn't part of the vehicle section, you know? If it was its own section instead. While the tank sections aren't as dynamic or fun as other, you know, later games, because like you only have to deal with turrets and choppers, that feeling of being in this almost indestructible machine that shoots 2 types of missiles and machine gun rounds is kinda nice. This whole section did take me longer than it should have too, because first, I did not realize that this was a switch to lower the bridge. I mean, it even has a little model of the bridge too, but like I just didn't see it. And then it took me a visit to a walkthrough to find out I was supposed to shoot this tree. So I started to wonder, is the game just cryptic like that? Or am I stupid? Moving on, we blow up this house. I love this bit. Then we get to this part where we get into a fight with a bunch of these rebels and an APC. Now again, this takes us on a long walk where we can operate a machine to pick up this APC and clear the way. This time, however, it wasn't as long or tedious as before, and for what it's worth, going through these corridors and small structures actually felt neat. Finally, we get to the general's hideout where hilariously our tank runs out of fuel. Taking out the 2 turrets, we head inside and the mainframe tells us there's a lot of energy signals coming from underneath this area. But how do we get there? Well, first we meet the general himself, but he's like booby-trapped this whole room, so we have to get the hell out of there.
I've underestimated you, Archer. But you have underestimated my explosives.
Then we turn on the air defense system, which shoots down its own helicopters. What is wrong with this air defense system? One of the helis drops and crashes, opening us a way to go down to the general's secret base. Now, as much as I love this game so far and think it's one of the most underrated Half-Life related media ever, this finale, this last chapter of the game is just all over the place. I mean, it has a lot of good parts, but it also feels a little rushed, as if the developers were late on a deadline and just crammed this out to meet it. Anyway, there's like this giant alien thing imprisoned in the lab, and like we have to set it loose to really wreak some havoc on the general's men and his base. Going into the lift, we head down and realize it's a trap. So yeah, okay, as soon as it goes down a little, you jump out of it and move to this area. Now hear me out. You would think that this is where you have to go, right? Like somehow make things work and go to this bright and lit up space. I tried to do that, but nope. Then I thought maybe I have to do something with this moving elevator. Nope. I tried every single thing I could think of, but nothing worked. But do you know what you have to do here? Get on the frozen elevator, go to this specific side, and jump down. This was the start of a very irritating experience this whole chapter gave me. So this whole chapter plays like a multi-layered loop. Here's what we have to do. Get the mainframe to take over the computer systems in the base, find and kill the general, set the giant alien loose. Step by step, we have to do this. Like, there's 3 places where we have to put in the mainframe core and she uploads a part of herself every time she's in there, and you know, at the end she takes it over in full. We do find the general many times, but every time, he's just a step too far. We do set the giant alien loose, and yeah, it does wreak havoc on everything. All the while all of this is going on, we're shooting down the rebels, the scientist, and later on, aliens show up too. There's like this new gun we also find which shoots explosive acids or something. It's like a grenade launcher in terms of functionality, but looks completely different. There's also this part where we have to go down and unlock a bunch of doors that unlock a bunch of other doors and then shut off the freezer, and like, it's all filler. Rather than the game going, go down, turn on the freezer, come back up, it just sends us on a wild goose chase, and while visually the base looks fantastic, I mean it's one of the best things about this whole chapter, it's just laid out in a way that confused me at every corridor and room, and the padded out sections just to make the game feel longer just get tiring after a while. Oh, and the mainframe kinda creates this android thing and uploads herself into it. This was kinda freaky, not gonna lie.
Who are you?
Get out of my way! It seems I will have to save you one more time, Gunman. I am the mainframe. While you struggled and failed to reach Deck A, I have assembled a non-virtual representation of myself. I have decided to take matters into my own hands.
But like, the chapter isn't as long as I thought. Looking back, the chapter is actually quite short compared to the earlier levels. The thing is, some parts in between this chapter just stop you, like you just don't know what to do till you look up a walkthrough. Throughout my playthrough, I had stopped maybe 3 or 4 times overall in the other chapters. This chapter alone had me going to the walkthrough almost 5 to 6 times. And not only that you get stuck in some weird ass places, you also get in like gunplay encounters with very difficult situations, and if you're on like low health or half health, it's really hard to clear those places on normal difficulty. Anyway, after all of that carnage and destruction, we head to the surface where the general is. The mainframe is now in this robot mech thing which has like some special missiles to destroy the general's war drone. I was kind of let down here, really. I felt the game really blue-balled me into thinking I'd be the one to take down the general. It would have been poetic, grand, amazing, but instead, we're supposed to just take down one of his super deadly kata cannon or something with a tank before the actual battle begins. Between the mainframe and the general. Ugh. And we're supposed to just like kill these aliens? Yeah, that's pretty much it. A tank battle with the general one-on-one would have been amazing. Maybe an environment type battle like that android gunship from earlier. Something like that would have been nice. 2 NPCs duking it out while you just watch is like... alright. Oh, and I kind of failed my objective cause the mainframe died. But exactly right then, the general died too. Somehow. I don't know. Then cue the ending.
Damn! I'll have to crush your heart with my own hands, just like the... Whoa!
We have won. Gunman landing craft are approaching. I will now transfer my immeasurable sentience back into the facility computers. I have a xenome infestation to deal with. Thank you, Gunman, and welcome to my new home planet.
And that is Gunman Chronicles. Overall, it is a fantastic game, apart from some of the hiccups at the very end. For a retail game that started off as a mod in the mid to late 90s, this was truly a work of dedication and talent. The team behind this definitely had the skills to create such an enjoyable experience. It has a variety of different locales which provide for a variety in the visuals. Its gameplay is solid for the most part, and the whole gun modifier system is pretty nice to use. It's actually a gameplay element that I haven't seen a lot in a lot of games in later years. Props to the voice acting too. While it feels campy and corny, it still has that silly charm to it that makes it worthwhile to listen to. And Jim French, as always, is amazing in this too. The weapons were actually quite decent to use, and it was a surprise to see such originality since most of the mods of the time mostly just reskinned the original Half-Life weapons, or maybe plucked weapons from Team Fortress Classic or other mods and just, go ahead with that. I still don't know why reviewers at the time felt like this game wasn't worth being a retail game and told players to rather try out the free mods. While mods from around that time were also pretty goddamn good, I feel Gunman had that extra work done on it that made it worthy of being a proper retail release. You can download Gunman for free now since it's abandonware, but I do hope that Valve maybe puts this on Steam as a proper release. And there were even attempts at petitioning Valve to do just that, but it just never went anywhere. There was also Gunman Reloaded, a remake on the Source engine, but that went quiet in the early 2010s. I would have loved a continuation of this story. This world that the game presents had the potential to be fleshed out even further to include new story arcs and whatnot, but Revolve Software would dissolve after Gunman came out, and that would be that. Thanks so much for watching, and a big thanks to these benefactors for supporting the channel. Dudebro, Flamsy, Hydroponic Gardener, Young Yuva, Clay Pitter, It's Juro, Intercommissar, T.S. Tromer, Taylor, Mistress Baban, HPR, Hobgobbies, Wooflo, Scooms, Aoi, Nicholas Go, Imperial Embers, T-Boy301, Tombstone, Jack5282, Taiwanesium, Quiltman, 501st Cloneboy, Interloper CS, TTG, Robocop, Noel, Franco Senlehi, Justin Imbergriff, Tedesor, Otakan Nachos, Lambdre, Roadkill, Walter, Geode, Fisher Grice, Hawkasol, Jelen, A Normal Street Lamp, TRR Droid, and Bipolit. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.